In episode 5, Leanne is awoken in the morning to the sound of a truck backing up. That's because there's going to be a block party right outside of their house that was orchestrated by Dorothy. She set this whole thing up, but she also put Sean to work. Sean is going to be selling food where all the proceeds go to ending homeless hunger. But Sean and Dorothy won't be the only ones there because Leanne is actually planning to go, which is a big step in her recovery. All these new people are going to be around, but she's going to gut it out and go to the block party. Julian shows up a little while later because he's also planning to go. Vera has a work thing, so he's going solo. And after Dorothy starts poking fun about the fact that Julian can be found at the funnel cake stand, he switches topics to the homeless teens in the park because they've multiplied. Julian makes mention of the fact that there's a lot more than last time, and when Sean says they're just passing through, Julian points out, well, no, they're multiplying because you're giving them gourmet handouts. Before too long, there's going to be a bunch of squatters out here, and your housing value will be kaput. This conversation is really unsettling to Leanne. When the block party kicks off, Leanne exits the house, and it is a lot, but she's handling it well, holding Jericho the entire time. After Dorothy, Leanne, and Julian check up on Sean and his stand, Dorothy starts showing Leanne around. And let me just say, as a person from Philadelphia, this is the bougiest block party I have ever seen. They've got axe throwing, they've got Sean and his gourmet ice cream, they've got a barbecue tent, they've got folk dancers. This isn't a block party, it's a goddamn carnival. But as Dorothy is showing the two around, she sees the News 8 van pull up, and Isabel gets out. This upsets Dorothy quite a bit because she pitched this idea to them weeks ago. And now not only did they not give her the story, but they gave it to Isabel. Both Julian and Leanne try to calm her down, but it doesn't work. Dorothy grabs Jericho and storms right up to the news team. They're a little bit taken off guard, especially when Dorothy basically grabs the mic and says, well, I'm sure you'll want to hear from me, and I'm sure you'll want shots of this and this and this, inserting herself into the news piece. Julian tries to go get the attention of Sean, but Sean, dealing with his stand, tells Julian to back off. After the stunt he pulled with the DNA test, he doesn't really want to hear from him and what he thinks he should be doing. As far as he's concerned, Dorothy's happy, and that's really all that matters. The conversation, though, gets interrupted when a woman named Nancy comes up. And Nancy just so happens to be Sean's minister, because Sean, without telling Dorothy or really anybody, has decided to go back to church. It's a small get-together. It's called coffee hour, but it's been doing Sean a lot of good. And when Nancy walks up, Julian's still there. So he starts quizzing Sean as to exactly what coffee hour is, until finally Sean admits it's just a ministry group. Julian says, this explains a lot. I liked you better when you were an atheist. And Sean shoots back, I liked you better when you were a drunk. Back over with Leanne, she was left alone when Julian went to go hunt down Sean. And she's doing okay, that is, until she sees the homeless teen with the heart condition. She gets super freaked out. He doesn't approach her, he just sits down at a table and starts eating food. But one of the volunteers makes mention to Leanne that she likes helping the homeless and everything, but there's got to be a line. And when Leanne says, is there any chance you can kick him out? The woman is more than happy to do that. She walks up to the teens, tells them that since they didn't pay, they can't stick around, and the gaggle of teens is forced to leave. Leanne's mind is finally at ease, and she can go back to enjoying the block party. Leanne walks by a face painting booth and decides, what the hell, when in Rome, and decides to get her face painted like a tiger. She's making chit-chat with the woman who's doing it. The whole time, her eyes are closed. At one point, the woman starts talking about her mother, and Leanne asks, do you still talk to your mother? Because Leanne thinks the woman's still there. She feels somebody touching her face. But little does she know that the woman is not there. And the finger that is touching her face is a dirty one. When the woman returns and apologizes to Leanne for leaving, Leanne gets super freaked out. With half her face painted like a tiger, she leaves the tent and is looking for whoever did that to her. But she comes up empty. Leanne continues to walk around and she sees Dorothy entertaining a bunch of kids, similarly to the way she did it with her back when she was 8 in that beauty pageant. But then she overhears one of the neighbors talking to Isabel about how Dorothy and Sean act like this happy couple, but she's seen at least 2 police cars and an ambulance outside of her house in the last year. Leanne goes and sticks up for Dorothy, saying to the woman, it's not polite to gossip. And the woman says, well, it's not polite to eavesdrop either, and then takes her baby and storms off. Isabel, who was very engaged in that conversation, tries to save face with Leanne by saying, thank you so much. That she wouldn't shut up. Isabel recognizes Leanne from the baptism and says, what was your name again? Leanne what? And Leanne says, Leanne Grayson. Isabel reintroduces herself, saying that her and Dorothy are old friends, and she wouldn't even have the job without Dorothy's help. But then Leanne asks, well, if you guys are such good friends, why do you hurt her? Isabel's a little taken off guard and says, I'm not. I'm just doing my job. And Leanne nods and says, okay, and then leaves. And as soon as she does, Isabel Googles the name Leanne Grayson and finds the missing posters that Sean and Dorothy put out when she went missing. With Leanne a little bit distracted, she totally misses the interaction between Dorothy and Nancy. Nancy, having no idea that Sean has never told anybody he's going to services, walks up to Dorothy and introduces herself as Sean's minister. She tells Dorothy, we would love to see you there too. But Dorothy's more shocked to find out that her husband has been going to church services. So that'll be a conversation she's going to have with Sean a little bit later. Leanne, meanwhile, ran into Toby. They ran out of food over at Sean's stand, so Toby's got nothing to do. So him and Leanne start hanging out, playing some carnival games. Leanne even wins a giant llama. And as they're chit-chatting, you find out that Sylvia ghosted Toby right after she lost a finger. Toby reveals to Leanne that in the end, he knows it was a good thing because that relationship was just toxic. But the more that Leanne hangs out with Toby, the more she's having fun. The night continues to rage on. Everyone's having a good time. And Dorothy finally is able to just sit down and relax for a little bit. And that's when Sean comes up, and that's when Dorothy brings up meeting Sean's minister. She doesn't really have a problem with Sean going, but she does get upset when she finds out that he's been bringing Jericho. She feels like Jericho joining a church is kind of a big thing that the parents should talk about. Sean reminds her, though, that she had Jericho baptized, and he didn't really get a say in that. But in Dorothy's mind, the baptism was all for show. Dorothy says to Sean, keep all the secrets you want, I don't care, but when it comes to our son, I'm going to need transparency. Sean starts to explain that it's not some cult that he joined, it's normal people talking. And if Dorothy gave Nancy a shot, she'd probably like her. Dorothy says, good, because Nancy's coming over for dinner. Sean's very surprised and says, shouldn't we discuss this? And Dorothy says, well, when do we discuss things? And walks off. But that isn't the only secret that Sean was hiding from Dorothy. He got a phone call from the producer of Gourmet Gauntlet, that TV show that he went and filmed in Los Angeles over the summer. They're doing a spin-off on the East Coast, and they want Sean to be a part of it. But Sean doesn't even answer. He just hung up on him. As Sean and Dorothy were having a little bit of a fight, Leanne got hungry. Most of the stands are closed, but she goes into one tent where she hears some pots and pans, and she says, hey, are you guys open? But the more that she goes back in the tent, she realizes it's not a food stand at all, because there's two people that look pretty homeless, wearing weird clothes, and they're heating up a dagger. Leanne quickly realizes these are people that are after her. She throws a boiling pot of hot water on them and starts running away. She can't find help at all, and these people chase her down the block, through the Turner's house, and out the back, where Leanne has run into the park. But when she does that, she runs into all of those homeless teens, and she's got nowhere to go. Leanne somehow fights them off and returns home, although she's got blood on her hands, blood on her overalls, and even blood on her head. But she quickly cleans up, and as far as the Turners are concerned, nothing happened that was weird. Although when Dorothy does go to lock the back door, she does see blood on the doorknob. Leanne tells the Turner she's going to bed, heads upstairs, and then takes the blood from the back of her head and starts painting her face with it. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.